You might be feeling your life is not good enough, or you feel something is lacking in your life. You might be seeking life purpose, and you also may have already looked into the Japanese concept of Ikigai, but still nothing has changed and still wondering what is really Ikigai is and what can I do about it. Today, I'm going to share the authentic Japanese concept of Ikigai, which is not shown or not shared in the Western social media. And I'm going to share the 3 simple, precise steps how you can apply this concept to your life. By the end of this video, you will know how to change your current state of life applying the authentic Japanese concept of Ikigai. Recently, the Japanese concept of Ikigai has been really popularized. You may have read the book or watched video or also read some articles and also some diagrams. So I saw the diagram, and which made me really feel like fainting because it was far from the authentic Japanese Ikigai. If you like that method, that's also okay, but I myself find out this is not really Ikigai. And you will end up just over-analyzing your situation with all the checklist. There is a Japanese psychiatrist who was born in 1914 and died 1965. Her name is Mieko Kamiya, and she has written a book about Ikigai earlier, before it becomes so popular in Western world. She wrote this book while she was working in the hospital with the patients of leprosy. One of her patients was blind, but he was going to the window every day and making haiku poems. And he was feeling so fulfilled. Although he couldn't see, he was able to feel and express. That brought so much fulfillment to him. And the other person, for example, was also blind. Also, he didn't have hands. But he was trying to read every day with Braille, using his mouth with lips. And there was some blood in his lips, but he was able to read, and that brought him such a fulfillment. So in that kind of most extreme situation, there are still possibility to feel Ikigai. And I can tell you also from my experience, I can share that. And that's also really resonated with me. I was in the hospital for, well, it actually became 2 months and almost lost my life. And there was a moment I could not do anything, couldn't eat and couldn't move, couldn't stand, couldn't walk. There was nothing else, no jewelries, no clothes, just hospital gown and in bed all day. And sometimes, of course, I have my family, my son come to visit and have some connection. I couldn't speak even properly, but my awareness was there. And during that moment, my feeling from the really bottom, and then I realized that I got over this stage of dying, and I had such a fulfillment without doing anything. It was just, for me, a big awakening. And without doing anything, every day I woke up and I was happy. And even though I couldn't do anything, I was able to feel the sheer, pure love and compassion and gratitude. So that was, Ikigai was not from the object, but really from the feeling that I have without doing much. And that is really powerful. So then I feel, and I also said, yeah, I feel Ikigai just worth living. But I was not able to engage in any activity at all. Even I could not eat. And, well, you know, like I couldn't enjoy eating or drinking tea. So that's extreme situation. We can still feel this fulfillment, happiness. In that moment, my fulfillment was, I realized, and that was a big awakening, and that changed my entire life, was connectedness and belonging and the love. So connectedness and belonging with entire medical team, my family, friends, and even though my parents are in Japan, I felt such a connection. And such a connection in everyday life. When we go through busy days, sometimes we forget this gratitude and connectedness and belonging. And it was in a hard way I learned this was something that really I need to live. And that's a sense of Ikigai. Also, Dr. Kamiya explained there are two ways of Ikigai. Number one, that's I think it's most of you already know, the object or item that make you feel worth living, or Ikigai. For example, we say, my child is my Ikigai. Or so it means like I'm so happy to be a mother, to be a parent, and he is my Ikigai. So I devote myself. Could be your wife, could be your husband, or could be your pet, or could be football that you play, or could be music you play, or dance you do. So activities, objects, or you could be collecting some antique art, that could be your Ikigai. So these are also, I think it's more generally known, some activities. So you might think, oh, I need to find such a hobby, or could be your job or your volunteer work. And maybe you feel that you need to contribute to the society. You have to do something. By doing something, then you feel Ikigai because there is an object and item that you get engaged. So the number one is that she mentions this Ikigai. And number two is the sense of Ikigai. So the feeling, as I mentioned earlier, I felt a sense of Ikigai when I was doing nothing. So the feeling of Ikigai. We say in Japanese, I felt such Ikigai just now. So in Japanese we say Ikigai kan. Kan is kanjiru, to feel from our heart. So in my previous video as well, I also talked about the invisible heart that contains our feeling from here, from our heart. How we feel. That is really important. So Ikigai kan, kanjiru, to feel. Sense of Ikigai. So this is a kind of typical Japanese word, which means very ambiguous. So it is very difficult to define exactly what is this Ikigai kan is. It's like wabi-sabi is also very much wabi-sabi or Japanese aesthetic is also ambiguity, and we love this ambiguous kind of feeling. And so it also depends on the person what kind of Ikigai kan we have. So now I'm going to explain in 3 steps, simple, precise way. How can we identify the Japanese authentic Ikigai? Number 1 is to reflect on your feelings and emotions that make you fulfilled. Such a feeling like connectedness, belonging, as I mentioned, I think this feeling is especially for mostly women. It is biologically, we are built for that. We need connectedness. We need to be feeling this belongingness, like a tribe, feeling from the tribe. Or self-actualization. There are maybe many feelings involved. So self-actualization means overcoming challenges. This could be more kind of male, typical male feeling, overcoming some challenges, and then this self-overcoming this feeling. Or expansion, feeling of expansion means self-growth, learning and mastering, learning new skills, mastering skills consistently, and following the path of what you like, and developing yourself, keep studying and feeling the growth within yourself you also could be expansion is sharing this, what you have acquired. Could be knowledge and could be skills. So expansion, self-growth. And also could be flow state, like mushin. I also talked about this concept in my previous talk. Mushin is when we are in a really state of total focus and concentration and devoting to do something and you forget everything, and really wonderful state of feeling satisfaction and connected to this more like spiritual higher self and connecting to divine energy when we are in the middle of activities. Could be from cooking, could be from playing the piano, could be from running. So this state, it's a feeling, but also in a kind of the state. Like, as I said, in my case, maybe what I all said, but if it's just about, if I follow just one feeling, if I didn't know, like some of them is important, I might feel something's lacking. For example, as I mentioned, I really need to have this connectedness and belonging, feeling of belongingness. Then if I just follow the self-growth or self-actualization, like for example, trying to master skills, or I love playing the piano and I take still lessons, I go to my coach, I will play the piano forever. However, just doing that for that activity is not enough for me. I feel there's something missing. Means like I need to connect with my fellow pianist. So then when I have this sense of nakama, I feel more fulfilled. So it's not just doing one activity, but I need to have this connectedness. And that applies to my work and anything what I do. Also my work, I could be working, I work for myself, but also I cannot do anything alone. And I need to connect really closely with my team and also my clients. And I love sharing. And also not just digital, but also I enjoy in-person meeting and really connect and feel the energy. And this togetherness is important. So like, for example, in this YouTube video, I like interaction with any of you. And also I try to make our in-person meeting happen and hopefully more in the future as well. So these personal connection really make me feel fulfilled and sharing love, compassion, and inspiring each other. That is a gift that I feel really alive, and I could say ikigai. So it is important, really important, to identify and reflect on what kind of feeling make you feel fulfilled, and combine. Just list can be two, not just one, but 2, 3. That's the first step, the feeling that make you feel fulfilled. Number 2, overview your daily activities, what you do, like your work, and you might be already doing some hobby or something that you like. So some activity you like, and just go through what you do every day. Probably the work. Let's say, okay, from work. In the work you do, or business you do, or volunteer work, does it bring the feeling and the emotion that you identified in number 1? And go through, for example, your hobby. If you play guitar, does guitar playing bring this feeling? So you list out all the kind of typical activities that you are doing, and then just check any of these activities are creating such emotion, feelings. For example, some of the feeling, like I said, connectedness and belonging. For example, like I as I mentioned, like play the piano, but then I need to connect with my fellow pianist. So then I have to do extra work to make it happen. So you can say, well, you play football. Then you can also see play football and I socialize later. So just go precisely what kind of activity you engage in a typical day and also weekend. So that's the number 2. Identification of your activities and your work, including your life activities like family, playing with children or bringing children to school, etc. So identify that. Then number 3 is going through its application, its action time. So does any of activity, am I covering all the feeling that I need, emotions in my activities? For example, in my case, also when my child was younger, just bringing him to school and picking him up or bringing to activity, but I needed this connectedness with other parents. In order to do so, I needed to be proactive to create kind of play group. Even though I'm working, I needed this connectedness with other parents. So I engaged, I created the time to do that. So then my motherhood, parenting has become more fulfilling. And that's created enriching meaning for raising child. So if I didn't do that, if I didn't create the time to connect with other parents and bringing children together and spending some time together, especially with mothers, then I think then I would have kind of felt left out and something's missing in my life and kept trying to find what's wrong with me. So these are really important. Even your task can become a part of Ikigai as well. So you will be surprised. Your task can be transformed to Ikigai. So number 3 is analyzing. And if your activities are creating the feeling and emotion that make you feel fulfilled, and then if you can be creative and you need to proactive to add some action to your daily life. For example, some people might be opposite and some people might need kind of feeling of solitude rather than connectedness. So then if you're drinking tea in the morning or coffee in the office, maybe you need your own time to meditate and to go into yourself, by yourself, your alone time. So then you need to create these moments. So you can also analyze your action and what can you do from this action to bring this Ikigai come, a sense of Ikigai. Thank you for listening, and I would be very happy to help you because I also went through, by living in a Western society, I went through some challenging time and I brought back my authentic Japanese way of life. So I understand your side of story as well. So I also have been giving one-on-one coaching session online as well. So if you like to work with me privately, please reach me by email office@azumiuchitani.com. Thank you and see you next time.